Hey, this is Mad Movie Mark of the Mad Movie Mark Movie Review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 2006 Iranian drama Firework Wednesday.
میتونی بری دیگه.
Hey, that's not fair. I can go if you want, but I still have a lot of review to go here. Firework Wednesday has a 100% fresh rating from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes and an 84% fresh rating from the audience. I'm currently reviewing every movie that has a 100% fresh rating from the critics. Now, I will have to admit that this is my first Iranian movie I've ever seen, so when it comes to Iranian films, I'm completely lost. I have no idea if they follow like a central theme or if they normally have like a essential plot. I really don't know anything about Iranian films, but I was excited to watch this movie because I'm so used to watching like movies out of Japan, out of France, out of Russia, out of Germany, that it's nice to get a movie from a country that I've never seen before. That's one thing that this Rotten Tomatoes list has done, is it's made me watch a lot of foreign films. I think maybe like almost 80 films that are foreign or something like that already at this point. And I love it. I love foreign films. So I will probably also butcher every name in this movie. So I'm only going to mention the names of the characters once, and then I'll refer to them as husband, wife, and maid, so that I don't just continually butcher the same name over and over again. So there's three central characters in this movie. One, I believe, is Ruhai or Ruhi. She is the maid who is also a bride-to-be. Then we have Mozada, who is the wife in this movie, and Morteza, who is the husband in this movie. Now, when this movie opens up, we are introduced to the bride-to-be. She is very happy and very excited for her wedding that's coming up soon, and she decides to take a job as a maid for this married couple. Now, this married couple, they live in a house, they're going on a trip soon, and they live in this house that's like covered in like plastic sheets everywhere, like it's protecting things from like paint or something. I don't know why there's all these plastic sheets in the house. It almost looks like they just moved in, but I don't think that that's the case. Anyway, their house is a mess. It's in utter disarray. So I believe it's the husband hires this lady as a maid. Now, the husband and the wife are having some marital difficulties, or at least they will have marital difficulties, because the wife believes that the husband is cheating on her with the next door neighbor. And she believes this because she found a cell phone, and in the cell phone there's a bunch of calls in the call log that are a number that matches the neighbors, and she thinks that there's so many calls here because they're talking all the time and they're dating. Now, he vehemently denies that they're dating. He says it's all in her head. It's not something that happens. But there's like a vent that she has in her house that she's able to listen to the next door neighbor's house. And she listens into conversations, and she just seems to think that this is going on. Now, the next door neighbor is running an illegal salon out of her house. It's illegal because she's not supposed to be running a business out of her apartment. When I signed my apartment lease, when I lived in an apartment, it actually said the same thing. You can't run a business out of your apartment. So the wife decides to use the maid to see if the husband is cheating. What she does is the husband has an engagement at 5 o'clock this one day. So she wants the maid to call the neighbor and see if she can schedule an appointment at her salon for 5 o'clock. And if she can't, then there's a better chance that her and her husband are meeting together at 5, and that's why neither one of them are going to be available. So the maid calls over to the salon. The neighbor is not available at 5, so this sparks the whole, even more, that the wife thinks that her husband is cheating. So when the maid goes over to the salon, there's the person who runs the apartment complex is there, and she's telling the salon owner, the neighbor, that she's being kicked out of her apartment because she's running an illegal business there. Now, the maid decides to pretend like she is like a member of the neighbor's family so that she can kind of get her out of this situation. I think it's just because she's being a nice person and this is an awkward situation, but I don't know. The thing about this movie, at least for me, is that it's incredibly confusing because, like, there's so many different fast cuts and things, and nothing's ever really explained as to what's going on. It feels like, especially with the maid, like you never feel like really what's her motive for things. What is she thinking? What's going on in her head? She's just very reactionary, it seems like, to situations where someone tells her to do something and she does it. Like, it doesn't seem like you ever really get into her mind and figure out what's going on. So it's a very confusing plot. The direction, I think it's on purpose. It's very confusing to make you have to make assumptions as to what's going on, and that always makes for a difficult watch when you have to make assumptions about things. So eventually, the wife confronts her husband about this, and he again says that he's not cheating. This is all a misunderstanding. He doesn't know why the neighbor had to be gone at 5, but it's just a coincidence type of thing. So later on in the movie, while the maid is still over at the house, she needs to go back to her house. So the husband offers to take her home in his car, but he has to accompany her and their son, the son of the husband and the wife, accompany him and his son to this fireworks display that's going on. So she agrees because there's nothing else she can do. Like, she needs this ride home. So if that's what he says she has to do, she has to do it. So she agrees to go on this trip to the fireworks, and while they're there, the husband excuses himself and says, "Hey, I have something I have to go do. Can you watch the kid?" And okay, fine. What is she gonna do? She can't really say no. So she watches the kid, and the husband goes and he meets the neighbor. And yes, it does appear that him and the neighbor are having an affair, like his wife thought. Well, the neighbor is here to tell him that she no longer wants to have this affair because she feels like she's wrecking a marriage. She feels like she's ruining a relationship, and she says it's really not worth it. You have a son, you have a great wife that loves you. I really can't continue on with this relationship in good faith, so it's gonna stop. Now, he does everything he can to convince her that he wants to stay in this relationship, but she's not having any of it. She decides that she is going to leave the relationship. And then the husband eventually gets back in the car with the maid. Now, this is also incredibly confusing. Incredibly confusing to me, because I don't know if he actually takes her home, or it seems like he takes her back to his apartment and not home, which is weird because she ends up in front of his apartment. I don't think they're neighbors. They might be, but she ends up at his apartment, and she goes up to talk to him. And when she goes up to talk to him, she realizes that she smelled a perfume on him that she smelled at the neighbor's house. So yes, she does believe that they are dating, and she decides she's going to tell the wife. But when she gets up to the top of the stairs and she has her moment to tell the wife, she doesn't do it. And then the husband decides that, okay, I will take you home now, which I thought he was supposed to do before. Totally confused by this. So he says, yes, I will take you home now. And when he takes her home, he says, hey, why didn't you tell my wife? I know that you know. Why didn't you tell her? And she says, oh, because your neighbor seemed so nice earlier when I was over at your house. Obviously, she's lying to him. I don't know if she's scared of him or why she decides she needs to lie to the husband, but she does. And then she ends up getting dropped off at her fiance's house, or at her fiance who's on a motorcycle, and they get off and ride off together. That's the entire movie. So I think the acting performances are really, really quite good in this movie. Especially the two female leading roles. I think that they did a really great job. And the female role of the wife is also going to be in the next movie that I'm going to review, called Half Moon. And I think she just does just as good of a job in that movie. But it's like I said, the movie is incredibly confusing to me, especially at the end, when I honestly don't really know what's happening at the end when he's supposed to take her home and then he doesn't, and then she goes up to his apartment and then he takes her home. I have no idea why this situation happened and these events happened. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I even went and I tried to read online, but there's not a very good explanation of this online either. Um, so I never really figured out like why all these sequences of events happened. If you've gotten this far into the review and you've seen this movie and you know, please tell me because I have no idea. Um, but the whole movie is quite confusing. I was able to pick up what's going on, the major events and the major things that are happening in the movie, but I still feel like there's little details that I missed just because I was trying to figure out what was going on. I'm trying to figure out so badly like what's actually happening in this movie that I might be missing little nuances and details that are going on that I should have picked up on. Besides being for me being a little confusing, being a little sporadic in the way that it's told, I still think that it's a solid movie. I still, in general, like the story about the wife who can hear the neighbor from the vent, and the husband who I honestly thought that, well, maybe he's not cheating. You know, maybe there is this miscommunication, but then no, you're wrong if you think that he actually is cheating. So I like kind of, for me, it was a guess that was wrong, and I like when I guess things wrong in a movie because it means that it's not totally predictable, which I actually really love. I just wish I understood the maid's role more, and I wish I understood um, her motives, and I wish I understood why she was doing things. I honestly just think she was trying to do stuff because she's a nice person and because she wanted to get home. But maybe that's wrong. Maybe I'm completely interpreting this movie incorrectly, which is possible. Like I said, I'm like in a Japanese movie or something like that, I can go based on prior movies that I watched and think, okay, this is probably what they're going for because this is what usually happens in this type of movie or this type of director. Kurosawa does these type of things all the time. So even if I don't understand what's going on, I can kind of figure it out. A little harder in this movie since I'm completely unfamiliar with the language, with the way the films are structured. Um, but you know, like I said, I still think it's a good movie. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. And I hope you join me. Probably on Saturday when I review the movie Half Moon. Thank you. Have a great day.